Oh, I think I'm recording. Yeah. Alright, out and about once again. Hopefully we'll not get rained on, but it is a possibility. Anyway, since I'm here, I'll make a video, but I'm not terribly inspired by the YouTube community, the human race, as defined by YouTube, which is a very small species. It really doesn't do much. Anyway, I was thinking about this whole value thing, and the fact that we do have all these different values. We place different value on things, and how we derive this idea of value. Where do we get it from? And so it sort of relates to the Antikaantavad videos, which were just terribly irritating. But I guess they're valuable for this one purpose of having to get to the core of it. The subjective kernel of knowledge that we're bestowed with, this idea that things can be, things can smell good and smell bad, that things are pretty and ugly, and that we have a brain that establishes that for us. I really think it's going to rain on me. Anyway, hopefully it won't be much. Not really in the mood. And such. I don't value rain much. At all. Cheers. It's just kind of miserable here. Anyway, wet. 30 wet enough. Thank you very much. So we just start off with this mechanical organism. It's got these built-in necessities to maintain itself, and then it's got to consume enough food to survive, be afraid, warmth, not getting hurt, all these little simple things. And then the drives to succeed in the competition, to show your merit, the ego stuff, and related to the sex stuff, which has the obvious intention of moving the genetic code forward. And so that's what we start with. So the values built into that, one could relate them. There's not much you can build out of the hunger thing. It's just kind of obvious and sort of irrelevant. Okay, you need fuel. But, obviously people can find fuel in all kinds of ways, and they can make it good enough for consumption. They don't have to have perfect food. They can just have necessary food, functional food. And, or they can wallow in food. They can use food as a sensual experience and have very high-minded and delicate taste buds that require the food to be elegant and pretty and all of that crap. So there's a divergence, but it's not terribly important. I'd say it's only relevant to maybe the subject of vegetarianism, where, yes, you can modify your taste, refine it, so you can find gratification without the necessity of the animal product. But anyway, that's not the subject of this video directly. The subject is sort of this idea, though, of all value, and how you derive it. So anyway, we're sitting there saying, okay, let's just say the hunger thing don't matter much, and the sex thing is sort of tied to the beauty thing. Certainly for this particular male, I can certainly see relationships there. It's what's soothing to us. We can go to music, with the stoic beauty, the beauty of a selfless act, a great love. Devotion is a beautiful thing to witness. so to speak, kind of thing. All right, so those are sort of getting somewhere. They're getting to something more bigger than just the mechanism. But those can all sort of be related to, again, these base desires. We desire things that are understandable and symmetrical. You can sort of see that in structures that appeal to us tend to be ones that flow in coherent manners. But again, it's another one of these sort of subjective things. It's mutable between people, how they define aesthetics. Yeah, that would be the word. What is aesthetically pleasing? How it's defined for them. There's some variation, but generally speaking, around the world, there are some very common definitions where most or almost all people would say, yes, that's beautiful. So anyway, but again, is this relevant to any of the bigger subject of value? These are subjective attachments, gravities, where we're compelled. And the sex drive certainly is very compelling. The passion created is strong. The desire goes more than just the desire for the individual conquest. It is this bigger perception of climbing the mountain, achieving the goal, an overall bigger picture kind of thing. Sometimes maintaining, showing off some of these vain things that are also part of the ego mechanism. So I've basically isolated the desire psychology to these three things, right? Food, hunger, sex drive, and ego, which means self-satisfaction. This idea of accomplishment, vanquishing the enemy, winning, whatever that is. This idea of being a winner. We strive to be a winner. We desire to be. We need to be. By our own perception. So again, this is own perception is the important qualifier there. There's obviously some people's perception of winning is ludicrous by my standards, by my definition, and sometimes our own internal perceptions are, excessively demanding. I mean, we've all known, maybe we've all been at one point in our lives perfectionists and not accepted half victories or quarter victories or three-quarter victories or 99% victories because we wanted every ounce of the victory. We wanted perfection. So this is a strong desire in us, a strong motivator, a strong definer of value. So that's what we got from nature, basically. Nature and environmental conditioning will, by the time you're maturated, your teens or such, kind of define the foundations of your personality, the foundations of your what pleases you and what displeases you personally. And then we take that knowledge of value from a personal perspective, from personal taste, and now try to find in it what are the things of real value, what are the things of real universal value. So the idea, the knowledge that we are all, this is knowledge I would just say we have to concede for the purpose of this argument is that we're fundamentally the same. The state of our well-being is essentially parallel. There's parity between us, not as conductors of a life, but as experiencers of a life. Your happiness as a thing in a bottle isn't worth more or worth less than my happiness as an individual thing in a bottle. They have a similar qualitative substance. You're not half the person I am in terms of your the gravity of your sensing state. The importance of your welfare is not greater than my own. And then we can extend that to these other sentient mammals, and just conceding the minimum point, that, you know, there at least some substantial portion of the value of our welfare is also seen in the welfare of higher mammals. They have definite experience. They have definite capacity to suffer and anguish and panic and worry and experience profoundly negative sensation. You don't have to call them the same, but for the sake of the argument, I'll concede that. I obviously think their welfare might be even more important than us. We might be a little dull-sensed compared to many of the mammals, and that their pain is actually more vivid and harsh than our own. But anyway, as an experience, it's an experience I might not want. I might not want to smell as much as a dog smells, especially when he smells something obnoxious. But anyway, let's move to... Alright, so we are given this sense, this understanding of good and bad feeling, attractive and repulsive thing. That's the knowledge bestowed on us, that things have these aspects to them. And then when we take that mechanism and now try to apply it in a rational way to the world and say, well, what in the world gets... Well, see, I'm just going to go back to the same video I made about categories, because that's what's going to happen, is that those rudimentary categories of good and bad, sensation or feeling, and attractive and repulsive, essentially establish these categories, these two main categories, where something will fall into one or the other. Something that is worthy of chasing or grabbing, something unworthy, something to be avoided. And so as an intelligence, everything else is kind of produces these things. They produce in us desire, or they produce in us a state of being, a welfare state. So we could argue that a disease, for example, like polio or something, would go in the bad category, the repulsive category, because we know of the harm it causes these sentient creatures. The fact that it disables them and creates in them anguish and fear and unpleasantness and unproductivity, and just destroys entirely the quality of life. And so this goes into the bad category, and it's a very rational placement in this category based on understanding that overall it's not a subjective thing, that nothing is going to be better off having polio. Nothing's going to be put in a better state of being. So it's just easily, without any question or doubt, it's easily placed in the category of a bad thing. And now, even though I don't have a innate repulsion to the individual little monster, I know it to be true. I have knowledge of the truth of its evil, of its nastiness, and so now my repulsion as a sensation will be mimicking my knowledge. So in the other cases where our knowledge is created through the experience of the feeling, in the case of this statement, it is the knowledge, is creating the feeling. It's inducing it because of the categorization, because of the mental association, the mental images of even yourself being afflicted. And so you can know it without experiencing it because you can understand what experiencing it would be like. You can see yourself experiencing it, in a sense, feel yourself do it, and realize, no, this now goes in this bad category. And that's really the function of intelligence, is to create this mental image of yourself in that position, and give you opportunity to categorize things that you can't innately react to, that your brain couldn't be wired ahead of time to know. And so it can learn this thing. Because it can't know it ahead of time, it can learn it. And that's the power of this mechanism that creates feelings and then associated connections between thoughts and feelings, or concepts and feelings, categories and feelings, symbols, whatever you want to call them, and feelings. And that's the function of intelligence. So that's kind of why sentience exists. It's because sentience creates the ability to feel, creates the ability to create these value categories, where understanding them from an abstract position where you don't know what a good and a bad is, where you never felt one, it would be really hard to understand the concept. You have to feel it. You have to experience to know what experience is. There's just no way you could ever explain it adequately. Probably. Anyway, till next time. And such.